The silver ship floated quietly above Earth like a sleeping giant. Inside, Ambassador Velterra stared at the glowing screens with wide eyes. Her team had been watching humans for 3 weeks now and nothing made sense. "This cannot be right," she whispered to herself, her blue skin flickering with confusion. The creatures on the planet below were doing something impossible. Something that went against every rule of survival in the galaxy. Dr. Nixera rushed over to her commander, holding a data pad that beeped with urgent warnings. "Ambassador, you need to see this immediately. Sector 7 in the city they call Seoul." The main screen lit up with footage from a human dwelling. A small human family sat in their living space, and with them was a massive creature with sharp teeth and powerful muscles. The beast could easily kill any of them in seconds, yet the humans acted as if it was harmless. "Look at the size of those jaws," gasped biologist Kefron, his tentacles trembling as he pointed at the screen. "That creature could crush a human skull like an eggshell. Why aren't they running?" But the humans weren't running. Instead, a human called Daeho was gently brushing the dangerous creature's fur while making soft sounds. A small human child named Minna sat nearby, completely unafraid, occasionally reaching out to pat the beast's massive head. "Perhaps they drugged these creatures to keep them calm," suggested Dr. Nixera, but even as she spoke, she could see the animal was fully alert and aware. Velterra switched the view to another human home. Here, a human named Sujin was actually feeding a different beast, this one even larger and more muscular than the first. She placed a bowl of the finest processed nutrition in front of the creature, food that looked better than what many space travelers ate. "They're giving it premium rations," Kefron observed in shock. "Why would they waste good food on a weapon?" The team watched in growing amazement as Sujin then did something that made them all step back from their screens. She reached out and scratched behind the creature's ears while it ate. The beast, which their scanners identified as having enough bite force to snap bones, simply wagged its tail and leaned into her touch. "Commander," Dr. Nixera said quietly, "I'm reading emotional responses from both species. The humans show no fear at all. In fact, their stress levels actually decrease around these creatures." Velterra changed the view again. This time they saw a human called Jinwoo walking down a street with one of the beasts on a rope. But instead of the rope being a restraint, it seemed more like guidance. The creature walked calmly beside him, occasionally looking up at Jinwoo with what could only be described as affection. "This makes no sense," Velterra muttered. "Every intelligent species in the galaxy knows the first rule of survival: avoid predators. These humans are not just ignoring that rule, they're doing the exact opposite." Dr. Nixera pulled up more footage. "It gets worse, Ambassador. Watch this." The screen showed a human dwelling where a small child, no more than 8 standard years old, was sleeping on the floor. Curled up next to him was one of the massive beasts, its body easily 3 times the size of the child. The creature could have killed the young human in its sleep, yet it lay perfectly still, occasionally shifting to make sure the child stayed warm. "The adults are leaving their offspring alone with these predators," Kefron whispered in horror. "This is either the most reckless behavior we've ever documented or what?" Velterra asked. "Or these humans have lost their minds completely." The team continued watching, documenting case after case of impossible behavior. They saw humans spending vast amounts of money to heal injured beasts. They witnessed humans risking their own lives to rescue these creatures from danger. Most shocking of all, they observed humans showing genuine distress when the beasts were hurt or sick. "Look at this data," Dr. Nixera said, her voice filled with confusion. "When a human's beast becomes ill, the human's brain chemistry changes. They release the same stress hormones they would if their own offspring were in danger." Velterra stood up from her command chair and began pacing. In her 40 years of exploring the galaxy, she had never encountered anything like this. Every species they had met followed basic survival instincts. Predators hunted prey. Prey avoided predators. Intelligent beings used tools and weapons to protect themselves from dangerous creatures. But humans seemed to have thrown all of that away. They brought apex predators into their homes, fed them, cared for them, and even showed them affection. It was as if they had forgotten that these creatures could kill them. Could they be under some form of mind control? Kefron suggested. Perhaps these beasts secrete some kind of chemical that affects human brain function? Dr. Nixera ran quick scans. No unusual chemical signatures detected. The humans appear to be acting of their own free will. Then they must be insane, Velterra concluded. An entire species that has lost its survival instincts. We need to report this to the Galactic Council immediately. These humans are either the most dangerous species we've ever encountered, or they're so reckless that they'll destroy themselves before we can make contact. But even as she prepared her initial report, Velterra couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something important. The humans didn't look afraid or controlled or insane. They looked happy. Genuinely, deeply happy when they were with these dangerous creatures. What could possibly make an intelligent species choose to live with predators? And why did they seem to love doing it? 2 weeks had passed since the alien team first spotted the impossible sight of humans living with predators. Ambassador Velterra had barely slept during that time. Every new piece of footage they collected made the mystery deeper and more confusing. "Commander, you must see this," Dr. Nixera called out, her voice shaking with disbelief. She had been monitoring human settlements around the clock, and what she found challenged everything they knew about intelligent behavior. The main screen showed a human female named Sujin rushing through the streets of Busan. In her arms, she carried one of the large predator beasts. The creature was limping badly, and Sujin's face showed the same panic that most species displayed when their own lives were in danger. "Where is she taking it?" Velterra asked, leaning forward in her command chair. "To a human medical facility," Dr. Nixera replied. But watch what happens next. The team observed in stunned silence as Sujin entered a building filled with healing equipment. A human healer examined the injured beast with the same care they would give to another human. Sujin paced back and forth, her stress levels so high that the ship's sensors could detect her elevated heart rate from space. "She's spending the equivalent of 30 days of human earnings on medical treatment for this creature," biologist Kefron reported, his tentacles writhing in confusion. "That's more than some humans spend on their own healthcare." But the strangest part came when the healer finished treating the beast. Sujin knelt down beside the creature, and tears rolled down her face as she gently stroked its head. The beast responded by licking her face as if trying to comfort her. "The emotional bond is genuine," Dr. Nixera whispered. "Her brain chemistry shows the same patterns we see in parental care across dozens of species. She truly cares about this predator's well-being." Velterra switched the view to another location. Here, a human named Dong Min sat in a small dwelling with a smaller but equally dangerous feline predator. The old human was thin, clearly not eating enough, yet he opened expensive food containers and fed the beast the best portions while keeping scraps for himself. "He's starving himself to feed a creature that could claw his eyes out," Kefron observed. "This goes beyond insanity. This is love." The word hung in the air like a forbidden curse. Love was supposed to exist between members of the same species, or at most between species that could help each other survive. But humans seemed to love creatures that offered them nothing but danger. "Look at Sector 12, Dr. Nixera said, switching to a new feed. "This might be the most disturbing footage yet." The screen showed a human dwelling where a family slept peacefully through the night. But they were not alone. 3 large predator beasts lay scattered around the room. One massive creature with powerful jaws rested its head on the bed next to a human child named Haewon. Another beast lay across the doorway as if guarding the family from intruders. The third creature slept at the foot of the bed. "They trust these predators with their lives while they're most vulnerable," Velterra said quietly. "During sleep, when they cannot defend themselves, they allow apex predators to surround them." Dr. Nixera pulled up more data. "Commander, I've been studying their behavior patterns. These humans don't just tolerate these creatures. They actively seek out their company. Watch this." The footage showed a human named Yijin coming home from work. The moment she opened her door, a large beast bounded toward her with obvious excitement. Instead of defending herself, Yijin dropped to her knees and allowed the creature to knock her over. She laughed as the beast licked her face and jumped around her. "She enjoys this interaction," Kefron noted in amazement. "Her stress levels drop immediately upon contact with the predator. It's as if the creature's presence makes her feel safe, not threatened." The team continued documenting case after case of impossible behavior. They watched humans training these beasts, not to hunt or kill but to perform harmless tricks. They saw humans celebrating the beasts' birthdays with special food and gifts. Most shocking of all, they witnessed humans mourning when old beasts died, showing grief as deep as if they had lost family members. "This footage is from yesterday," Dr. Nixera said, showing a gathering of humans around a grave marker. "A beast named Tal died of old age and dozens of humans came to honor its memory." Velterra watched as humans wept openly, sharing stories about the dead creature. Some brought flowers. Others brought favorite toys that had belonged to the beast. The level of genuine sorrow was impossible to fake. "I need to understand this," Velterra announced suddenly. "Prepare the shuttle. I'm going down to observe them directly." "Commander, that's extremely dangerous," Kefron protested. If these humans have lost their minds, they might see us as threats. And if those beasts attack? I have to know, Velterra insisted. We can't report back to the Galactic Council without understanding what we're really seeing here. Are these humans insane? Are they under some kind of control? Or is there something else happening that we don't understand? As the team prepared for the risky mission to Earth's surface, they watched one more piece of footage. A small human child named Minna had fallen asleep while playing. Her family's massive beast, easily 10 times her weight, carefully picked up a blanket in its teeth and gently covered the sleeping child. The creature then lay down beside her, not as a predator waiting to strike, but as a guardian protecting someone precious. Whatever is happening down there, Velterra said quietly, it's going to change everything we thought we knew about intelligent life. Ambassador Velterra's shuttle spun out of control as sparks flew from the damaged engines. The crash landing in the Korean rice field was not part of her careful plan to observe humans secretly. Now she lay trapped in the wreckage, her leg twisted at a painful angle, completely exposed to whatever dangers this strange planet might hold. Through the broken shuttle window, she could see a figure running toward her across the muddy field. Behind the running human came one of those massive predator beasts, its powerful legs carrying it faster than the human. Velterra's heart raced as she prepared for the attack she had observed so many times from space. But the attack never came. The human, a male named Jin Woo, reached the shuttle first and immediately began checking on her injuries. The beast, which Velterra's scanner identified as having jaws strong enough to crush metal, simply sat down nearby and watched with what could only be described as concern. Are you hurt badly? Jin Woo asked in Korean, though Velterra's translator quickly converted his words. His hands moved gently as he checked her wounds, showing no fear of her alien appearance. The predator beast moved closer and Velterra tensed, waiting for death. Instead, the creature carefully sniffed her injured leg and then did something impossible. It began licking the wound with gentle strokes as if trying to clean and heal it. Hanul, good boy, Jinwoo said softly to the beast. You can tell she's hurt, can't you? Velterra stared in shock as the massive predator continued its gentle care. Your weapon, she gasped in broken Korean, it's not attacking me. Jinwoo laughed, a warm sound that seemed to calm both Velterra and the beast. Hanul isn't a weapon. He's family. He's trying to help you feel better. Over the following days, as Jinwoo nursed Velterra back to health in his veterinary clinic, she began to understand something that changed everything she thought she knew about life in the universe. Dr. Eunji, Jinwoo's colleague, sat beside Velterra's bed and patiently explained what humans call domestication. Through the translation device, she told the story that seemed impossible to believe. Thousands and thousands of years ago, Eunji began, humans lived in caves and hunted for food. Wild wolves also hunted in the same areas. Most humans and wolves avoided each other, but some wolves were different. They were curious about humans instead of afraid. Velterra listened carefully as Eunji continued. Some humans were different too. Instead of driving away these curious wolves, they shared their food. The wolves that were most friendly to humans got the most food. Their babies learned to be friendly too. You changed them? Velterra asked, still not understanding. We changed each other, Eunji corrected. The wolves that loved humans had more babies. The humans that loved wolves survived better because the wolves helped them hunt and protected them from danger. Generation after generation, we chose each other. Dr. Eunji scratched behind the ears of Gurium, the clinic's gentle giant. The massive dog leaned into her touch and made a sound of pure happiness. We didn't force them to love us. We became friends and then family. Look at Gurium's eyes when he sees Jinwoo. Velterra looked and saw something she had never witnessed between different species before. The beast's eyes held the same warm affection she had observed between human family members. There was trust, loyalty, and genuine love. But they could still kill you, Velterra pointed out, confused. So could my brother if he wanted to, Eunji replied with a smile. But he won't because he loves me. Just like Gurium won't hurt me because he loves me too. As days passed, Velterra experienced this impossible bond firsthand. When she developed a fever from adjusting to Earth's atmosphere, it was Hanul who refused to leave her side. The big dog would rest his head on her bed and whine softly whenever her temperature rose, alerting Jinwoo that something was wrong. He's worried about you, Jinwoo explained. Dogs can sense when someone is sick. Hanul has decided you're part of his family now, so he wants to protect you. Velterra watched in amazement as Jinwoo demonstrated the incredible relationship humans had built with these former predators. At a single word from Jinwoo, Hanul would sit, lie down, or come running from across the yard. But these weren't the actions of a controlled weapon. The dog's tail wagged with joy as he obeyed, clearly happy to please his human friend. It took thousands of years, Unji explained one evening as they sat in the clinic's garden. We didn't just tame wolves. We created something new together. Dogs aren't wolves anymore. There's something that never existed before humans and wolves became friends. Velterra observed young Soare teaching her energetic dog Bada to catch a flying disc. The dog's entire body vibrated with excitement, not because it was forced to perform, but because playing with Soare was the most fun thing in its world. They choose to stay with you, Velterra said, finally beginning to understand. Every day, Jinwoo nodded. No chains, no cages, no force. They stay because they want to be with us just like we want to be with them. The revelation hit Velterra like a bolt of energy. These weren't predators anymore. Through thousands of years of mutual choice, love and trust, humans and wolves had created something entirely new. They had evolved together into families that crossed species lines. Your people, Velterra said slowly, you don't see them as dangerous animals. We see them as our best friends, Unji replied simply. For the first time since arriving on Earth, Velterra felt she understood what she was really observing. Humans hadn't conquered these predators or lost their minds. They had done something far more incredible. They had loved their way into creating a completely new form of life partnership. Velterra had been living with Jinwoo and his team at the veterinary clinic for 3 weeks now. Each day brought new surprises that challenged everything she thought she knew about intelligent life. But nothing prepared her for what happened on a cold Tuesday morning when her body began rejecting Earth's atmosphere. She woke up burning with fever, her blue skin turning pale and her breathing shallow. Jinwoo rushed to her side with medical equipment, but it was Hanol who got there first. The big dog pressed his nose against her forehead, whined softly, and then did something remarkable. He lay down beside her bed and refused to move. What is he doing? Velterra whispered through her fever. He knows you're very sick, Jinwoo explained while checking her vital signs. Dogs can smell changes in body chemistry. Hanol is staying close to watch over you. For the next 2 days as Velterra fought the infection, Hanol became her constant guardian. Every time her fever spiked, the dog would bark once to alert Jinwoo. When she shivered, Hanol would carefully move closer to share his body heat. When she couldn't eat, the dog would bring his favorite toy and place it beside her bed, as if offering his most precious possession to make her feel better. He barely leaves to eat or go outside, Dr. Unji observed on the second day. We've seen this behavior before when family members are seriously ill. Dogs will guard sick humans for days without rest. Velterra watched through blurry eyes as this creature that had once been a wild predator chose to sacrifice his own comfort for her well-being. No one had trained Hanol to do this. No one had ordered him to care. He simply decided that Velterra was part of his family, and family members protected each other. When she finally recovered, Velterra began observing human-animal relationships with new understanding. She watched as young Soare spent hours teaching her border collie, Bada, to navigate obstacle courses. The dog's eyes never left Soare's face, not because he was afraid of punishment, but because making his human happy was his greatest joy. Look how patient she is, Velterra noted as Soare repeated the same command for the 10th time. The young human shows no frustration when the animal makes mistakes. That's love, Jinwoo explained simply. Soare doesn't care if Bada never learns the trick perfectly. She just enjoys spending time with him. But it was her encounter with elderly Dongmin that truly opened Velterra's eyes to the depth of human-animal bonds. She accompanied Unji on a house call to check on the old man's cat, Koma. Dongmin lived alone in a tiny apartment and survived on a small pension that barely covered his basic needs. Yet when they arrived, Velterra saw that Koma ate premium cat food while Dongmin heated up cheap instant noodles for himself. The cat's bed was soft and warm, while Dongmin slept on a thin mat on the floor. Why does he give the best things to the cat when he has so little? Velterra asked quietly. Unji translated the question, and Dongmin smiled as he gently stroked Koma's fur. Through the translator, his words came back. Koma depends on me completely. I chose to care for her so her needs come first. That's what family means. The cat purred loudly and rubbed against Dongmin's weathered hands. Despite having claws that could easily scratch him, the cat was gentle and affectionate. Despite having the option to abandon the expensive pet, Dongmin chose love over personal comfort. The most powerful lesson came when Velterra witnessed human grief. She was at the clinic when Uijin arrived carrying his 15-year-old dog Tao. The old dog had lived a long, happy life, but now his body was failing. There's nothing more we can do, Unji told Uijin gently. We can help Tal pass peacefully without pain. Velterra watched as Uijin made the hardest decision a human could make. He held Tal in his arms as the old dog drifted off to sleep for the final time. The man's tears fell onto his beloved companion's fur, and his grief was as deep as any Velterra had seen between members of the same species. 15 years, Uijin whispered. He was with me for 15 years. Through my marriage, my divorce, when my father died, when I lost my job. He was always there. But the story didn't end with death. The next day, dozens of humans gathered to honor Tal's memory. They brought flowers, favorite toys, and shared stories about the gentle dog who had touched their lives. Some had known Tal for years, others had only met him once, but all came to support Uijin in his loss. This is what humans call a funeral, Jinwoo explained to Velterra. We gather to remember those we love who have died. For an animal? Velterra asked, still amazed. For a family member, Jinwoo corrected gently. The final piece of understanding came when Velterra witnessed Hyunsu risk his own life to save a stranger's dog. The small terrier had fallen through thin ice on a frozen pond, and its panicked owner called for help. Without hesitation, Hyunsu crawled across the dangerous ice and pulled the struggling dog to safety. You could have died, Velterra told him afterward. Why risk your life for an animal that wasn't even yours? Hyunsu looked at her with surprise as if the question made no sense. Because it needed help, he said simply. Because it was scared and in pain. Because someone loved it. That night, as Velterra sat in the clinic's garden with Hanol sleeping peacefully beside her, she finally understood what she had been observing. Humans hadn't just domesticated animals. They had expanded their definition of family beyond their own species. They had chosen to love creatures that were different from them, and that love had transformed both species into something new. The dogs were no longer wolves. The cats were no longer wild hunters. And the humans were no longer just another intelligent species. They had become something unique in the galaxy, a species that loved without limits. The Great Council Chamber of the Galactic Federation buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 53 worlds gathered for the emergency session. Ambassador Velterra stood at the center of the massive circular hall, her report materials floating in glowing displays around her. She had never felt more nervous in her 40 years of diplomatic service. Chancellor Quindar's tentacles writhed impatiently as he called the session to order. Ambassador Velterra, you have requested this emergency meeting to discuss the species you call humans. Your initial report suggested they were either mentally unstable or extremely dangerous. We need clear answers. Velterra took a deep breath and activated the first holographic display. It showed footage of Jinwoo playing with Hanol in the clinic's yard, the massive dog catching a ball and returning it with obvious joy. Honored delegates, she began, I must correct our initial understanding of humanity. They do not keep predators as weapons, nor do they suffer from mental illness. They have achieved something we believed impossible across all known civilizations. Counselor Zexmira from the warrior planet Korath leaned forward aggressively. Explain yourself, Ambassador. Our military analysts reviewed your footage. These creatures could kill humans easily. Why do they not? Because they no longer want to, Velterra replied simply. The chamber fell silent at this statement. She activated another display showing Dr. Unji examining a sick cat while the animal purred contentedly in her arms. 15,000 Earth years ago, humans encountered wild predators called wolves. Instead of simply avoiding them or hunting them, some humans chose a different path. They shared food with the friendliest wolves. They cared for injured wolves. They protected wolf pups. Chancellor Quindar's voice cracked with disbelief. They fed their own food to predators? This sounds like the behavior of a species with damaged survival instincts. That's what we thought too, Velterra admitted. But observe what happened next. The display changed to show footage of different dog breeds from around Earth. Tiny lap dogs, gentle giants, working breeds, each perfectly adapted to human companionship. Generation after generation, humans chose the wolves that showed them the most affection and loyalty. The wolves chose the humans who treated them with the most kindness. Together they created something entirely new. The wolves became dogs, creatures that exist only because of this partnership. Delegate Mortessa from the scientific collective spoke up. You're suggesting they selectively bred these predators for emotional attachment? That's genetic engineering on a massive scale. Not genetic engineering, Velterra corrected. Emotional engineering. They didn't change the wolves with technology. They changed them with love, patience and time. She showed the delegates footage of Hanol refusing to leave her bedside when she was sick. These animals now possess something we've never seen in nature, the ability to form genuine emotional bonds across species lines. Watch how this dog responds to my distress. The chamber watched in amazement as Hanul whined softly and pressed his nose against Velterra's face when she pretended to be in pain. Impossible, muttered Counselor Vrexhan. Interspecies empathy violates basic evolutionary principles. Yet here it is, Velterra said firmly. She switched to footage of elderly Dongmin sharing his meager food with Koma. Humans regularly sacrifice their own comfort for these animals. Not because they have to, but because they want to. The display showed scene after scene of impossible bonds. Children sleeping safely with massive dogs. Humans weeping over the graves of beloved pets. Rescue workers using dogs to find disaster survivors. This represents a level of emotional intelligence we have never encountered, Velterra continued. Any species capable of transforming apex predators into loving family members through nothing but patience and kindness possesses remarkable abilities. Chancellor Quindar's tentacles had stopped writhing. He stared at the displays with growing understanding. Are you suggesting these humans could form similar bonds with other species? With us? I believe so, Velterra replied. She activated her final display, a photo of herself sitting peacefully with Jinwu's dogs, all of them resting calmly together. During my recovery on Earth, these animals accepted me as part of their family. Not because I was useful to them, but simply because their human companion showed me kindness. The chamber erupted in excited murmurs. Delegate Kaforo from the Trade Confederation leaned forward eagerly. Ambassador, what are the implications for galactic relations? Velterra smiled. Imagine a species that sees every first contact not as a potential threat, but as a potential friend. Imagine beings who instinctively look for ways to build trust and affection rather than establish dominance. Imagine allies who will sacrifice for your well-being simply because they care about you. She paused to let this sink in before continuing. Humans don't keep dangerous predators as pets despite the risk. They've evolved beyond seeing them as predators at all. They see family members who happen to look different. Chancellor Quindar rose slowly from his seat. Are you recommending immediate contact protocols? I'm recommending immediate alliance protocols, Velterra replied boldly. Earth should be fast-tracked for full Federation membership. Not because of their technology or their resources, but because of their extraordinary capacity for love and trust across species lines. The vote was called within the hour. 53 worlds voted unanimously to welcome Earth into the Galactic Federation. For the first time in Federation history, a planet was admitted not for what they could offer in terms of military might or scientific advancement, but for their ability to love. As Velterra prepared to return to Earth as the Federation's first ambassador, she thought about Jinwu and Hanul playing in the clinic yard. The sight no longer confused her. She finally understood that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their intelligence or their resilience. It was their unlimited capacity to see enemies as potential friends and strangers as future family members. In a galaxy full of species that had forgotten how to trust, humans had never stopped believing in the power of love.